matter who you are, where you are, what your choices have been, and what karmic timelines and contracts you have journeyed, the light is calling for the reunification of all aspects of life in this realm now. It is calling for the cleansing of all polarities. It is calling for the rising of all sacred heart centers now. All are being summoned home to the greater light now.
Hi, and welcome to Whole Soul Mastery's Sounds of Circles Heart Sharing in the Round. I'm here today in this beautiful round table with Renee Tainter, Sharon Ramesbottom, Paul and Nancy Panzica, Vanita Lakwala, Del Sol Etienne, Suzette Foster, and Flower Diamond. It's such a gift to be in this heart sharing, in this circle of light. And we each bring our wisdom, our light, our talents, our gifts, our messages. We are voices of the new earth, and we're here seeding this new garden. If we have this metaphor of the Garden of Eden, to which all of God's children are returning, then we are here together on this beautiful day, Valentine's Day 2021, to seed this love and this light and this interconnectedness that each one of us has done a lot of the inner vibrational work to be here participating at this time. And I want to welcome our listeners who are also adding their energies into this podcast right now, and also the many people who will listen at any time in the days, weeks, and months going forward, because we are the new earth dreamers and the artisans and the architects, really creating this new earth on a collective and collaborative level. So I just want to thank all of you for joining me. And we had one other sort of holiday roundtable. We did it at Christmas time, and we each shared a message, and we'll see how the energy flows with all of us today. But I wanted to start us off to seed this conversation. I always ask the guides, often kind of last minute, because I'm like, oh, round table tomorrow. I wonder if the guides have a message for us. And of course, they always do, because they're always with us, and they're very happy to share their higher dimensional perceptions and their cosmic breadcrumbs for us to follow, and to help us raise our frequencies into that divine space of oneness where we all came from and where we're all returning to. And we're in that process now, right? We are the new earth now. It's happening now in all of these experiences and all of these conversations and co-creations together. So this is a message from the Arcturian Collective I wanted to share to begin our conversation today. Dear ones, we feel great joy in connecting with you as this message streams through and as you gather in your roundtable on Valentine's Day 2021. The world is ready for more love, more song, greater oneness, true aliveness, and true alignment. For the energy of divine love unfolds freely and abundantly when the chakra pillars are clear and the God breath is able to flow freely into all of these brilliant and life-giving vortexes of life-giving grace. It has been a long, long time on your world since you have breathed the one breath, the one heart, the God breath, and the God light within you as a collective. And yet roundtables like these that rise in the intention of unity consciousness and that rise in the lived experience of unity consciousness illustrate what is possible, what is natural, what is organic to the divine design in the most extraordinary ways. So let's all take a deep divine breath in together as living hearts and living lights of the one heart and the one light. Let us breathe in God's original grace through this conscious breathing in harmony today. Fill this breath with any color you like and see it cascading and flowing through your own chakra pillar, breathe this unity breath, this God breath, and this unified light together through your heart center. For your heart centers know how to speak oneness. They know how to emit oneness frequencies into this world and into this unified field that the greater galactic and universal collective truly is. When you breathe consciously in this way, you make way for the activations of God's purity, perfection, abundance, clarity, life force, love, and joy to return to the hearts of humanity. And you breathe a call to remember with you this pulse and this promise of the cohesion, the collaboration, the kindness, and the creative life force flow that Mother Gaia is ready to rise and be in her own light body and 5D consciousness once more. She joins you in this conscious breathing collaboration and co-creation today and invites you to be this living energy with her always. Divine love, Mother, Father, God's love, and Mother Earth's love never left. It only slipped past your ability to fully feel and perceive it in the lower dimensions. You have lived in the time of great darkness and density on this planet, in the old paradigm, and in that deep void. And now is the time of the great return. So feel the luminous light you are. Feel the breath in your body temples filled with the God breath, increasingly so again. Feel the believing, knowing, and nurturing heart of Mother Earth within you and pulsing its creationary light codes and guidance in all highest good ways. For you are the breathers, believers, knowers, and co-creators of a brave and brilliant new earth. And there is so much love and celebration in the chorus of angels shining, singing, and standing with you now. All that felt lost is being breathed into remembrance again. And in your remembrance, all is well again. All is resetting and reorienting to truth, light, and God's universal laws of the living light again. We are with you. We breathe this with you again, consciously and collaboratively in this way today and always. We have always been with you as a part of you. And today we know this together in the one breath once more. Much love and blessings to shower you one and all as you rise, remember, and reclaim the grace and the avatar wings you truly have and that you truly are. Happy Valentine's Day, dear ones. It is indeed a happy day full of love in our hearts as well.
Thank you. Oh,
It's just like a unifying and opening our heart centers together in this gathering today. I think that's what I love most of all about the transmissions that come through me is that it's really the frequency that is so uplifting and elevating. It's the frequency, even more than the words. The words help many of us connect with the frequencies, but it's not as if we all have to try and remember, in school when we had to memorize all those facts and, and formulas and all those things and take all those tests. This isn't like that. This is this fluid frequency, creative, interconnected, cohesive energy space that God and the Arcturian Collective and Gaia are inviting us to experience more and more in our day. And it's beautiful to experience this together with all of you. So I want to thank you for all being with me. I want to thank the Arcturian Collective for always bringing these beautiful frequencies and seeding this energy in us in these connections today. And I wanted to see who might want to share from their hearts just what's moving inside them, if they have something we want to read or share.
I, I don't know why I put my hand up, but I want first I want to thank all of you for expanding my heart by just being there and for my seeing you. And Marie, you had me into the one God heart beating as one. So thank you. I had, when you had asked us to maybe share something, there were so many things that I was thinking of reading or sharing, and I'm just going to keep it very simple. And I just want to, first of all, wish everybody a happy Heart Day, because this is about the heart today. And and all my life, I have wanted to connect the dots, you know, with my teachings and everything. And really what we're meant to do is connect the hearts. And we're just moving just one heart to another. And that's how we come together, is through our hearts. And so I guess, wanted to share my definition of love, which was the stepping stone for everything for me. And it was to see love as unconditional acceptance. And when I was able to see that, everything opened up for me, because I was able to look at people through my heart and see them and allow them to just be who they are. And it truly brought me into divine witnessing the divine. And so as I see you all, I see you as divine beings. I see you as my family, um, as connections to my heart. You are all in my heart. And that is how I see love. It just streams through us and within us, and it's God's gift to us. And I just thought I'd share Ram Dass's definition. I'm sure, not definition, but he sort of, his saying, his insight. And I'm sure you've all heard this, but this really demonstrates what allowing is. And I'm not very good at reading, but here I go. To quote him, when you go into the woods and you look at trees, you see all these different trees. I'm going to start crying, but anyways. And some of them are bent, and some of them are straight, and some of them are evergreens, and some of them are whatever. And you look at the tree and you allow it, you appreciate it. And to me, that is love. You just allow and appreciate and celebrate and honor and witness. And so I love you all, and I send love to everyone out there, and I connect with you in heart, and we are one. We are one. So thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. That was so beautiful. And I've been connecting with trees, and I have this picture of this tree behind me as you know, as a reflection of that energy that you beautifully brought through. And yeah, unconditional acceptance, it's such a powerful energy, right?
Mhm.
And we're bringing it back into our consciousness as we share it, as we voice it, as we're conduits of it in these connections and connections like these, and anybody receiving these energies, right? We're all invited into that frequency. And I want to invite you, Suzette, if you want to connect with us, because also I know globally there is a global intention and meditation unfolding on Valentine's Day at noon Eastern Standard Time.
It's actually noon any time zone. Everyone's focusing on the noon of their time zone. So it's we're getting bathed, the planet's getting bathed all 24 hours. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Jonathan Goldman has written sound healing books and has offered training. I've trained with him different times. And he started this World Sound Healing Day on Valentine's Day 19 years ago, and it's been an annual event. So if anyone wants to participate, just look up World Sound Healing Day for next year, or other programs tonight. There's programs during the day, and the focus was to tone the sound ah, which is a sacred seed syllable, for 5 minutes at noon, wherever we are, whether we're by ourselves or in a group. Though lots of groups are having whole sound healing programs and other sharings. So it's just a day to really bring in and focus on the divine love, peace, and compassion for not only Gaia, but Gaia and her creatures, Mother Earth's creatures, and each of us. So as we, I'll time it just to, and then I'm going to just share this little chime. When you hear that, just kind of finish at your own perfect timing, your ah, and we'll all close in that time frame. But when we're doing the ah, visualize a beam of golden pink light in our heart chakra, and visualize that extending to each of us on this call, each of the those of you who are watching the recording of it, and then out to the whole planetary system, and of course the universe. There is no limit in our intention of love and light and compassion. And so as we do that, let's just set an intention that we're feeling that peace. We want to be as peaceful as possible as we extend it. So just let's all take a couple breaths of bringing in that divine peace and exhaling any concerns or thoughts that are getting in the way of being in this pure, perfect moment. So again, you're going to extend a golden pink light from your heart chakra out to each other, and then the whole collective and Mother Earth. And we're going to hold the energy of peace. So everybody, please just sing the ah sound, tone it, chant it, and let's, everyone can take off your mute if you want, so we can, and even if you don't think you can sing very well, it's just beautiful when we do it together. It's coming from your heart. So let's not have any judgment in there. Okay, I'm just going to do the 5 minutes. So, okay, take an inhale and then an exhale, and then another inhale, and on the exhale, just start the ah. Ah. Thank you, everyone, for the light and love, the extension to support the whole. As we receive, we give. As we give, we receive. What a beautiful energy of love, peace, and compassion. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Just that toning together reminds me of the beginning, I believe, of that movie. Does anybody know La Bella Verte? It's the green, beautiful. It's was made and it's in French, but there you can find it with English subtitles. And I think it opens up with them having what we would understand as a gathering or a very large picnic, but a community of souls gathering together, and they're singing. And it's like the abundance of Mother Earth. It's like the Garden of Eden. You're seeing this, and it's, you know, in the film, that's this other dimensional world. So there are these beings on another world that has grass and open meadows that feel like Mother Earth. And I felt that. I felt us streaming that energy and toning that energy and connecting with the planets and in the universe and in universes beyond universes, as if to say to all life in creation, we are here. We are here. We are here. And we are singing a song of oneness together. And it's such a gift to be temples and vessels and conduits of this energy with you today, and at this time on the planet where there's quite a show going on out there, and in here at times, in here. And when we tone that, those sacred seeds, when we tone that energy of oneness, we're actually calling ourselves back to the living and the embodying and the knowing of these higher frequencies again. So thank you, Suzette, for leading us in that and for connecting us with the fact that that is a global experience and meditation that happens on an annual basis. That's amazing. And anytime we want to tone that, right? Connection. So thank you. So who else wants to share?
Well, I will share that yesterday I had a profound yet simple revelation that this is a sacred journey that we're on. It might be a lot of other things. It is confusion and pain and other things from this 3D experience. But it is a sacred journey because we came from the unity consciousness, the oneness that we are, and we're going back, and that this is the way it is in each of our journeys. And I appreciate what Sharon said about seeing the divine in everyone. And I see the divine in the human. And even if the human doesn't see their divinity, I see it. Now I honor it and respect it because it is family. My spirit told me a long time ago, look up and see all these. I was in Hong Kong and there was a lot of people. Look at these people, they're all family. You know, strangers are just family you haven't met yet. They're all family. And then another dear friend said, if you could remove the mask from everyone, you would be surprised at how dear they are to you. And so I took that to heart, and they became dear to me. Everyone, irregardless. And I like to think of people as being in their movie. When you first meet a person, that's where they are in their movie. This is where I am in my movie. We don't need to know anything about their movie in order to honor, love, and respect them. Mm. And on a day like today, where it is a day of hearts, I like what you said, Sharon. It's Valentine's Day, but it's the day of hearts. In fact, in Mexico, they call it Amistad, Dia de Amistad, which is like friendship also. Mm. It's between lovers and family, but also between friends. Mm. And so it is a special day, and I'm feeling a lot of love for the planet, and doing that awe toning was really special because we could cover the planet with that, with our love and that pink light. So thank you, Suzette.
Thank you. So beautiful. So beautiful. Vanita, yes.
So yeah, I do a lot of toning. My practices start with the Om chant, and with Suzette's delivery, I was in the zone. I didn't want to come out of it. She dropped me right in there. It was so profound. Just the toning brings us to present moment and to our own beingness and our empowered self. We don't need to figure out where the power comes from anymore. The thinking just drops away. So I was just in that zone, lit up from inside, vibrating really strongly. And the compounded power of all of us doing it together. I don't know where all it went, but it definitely went all around us. So thank you so much, Suzette. That was super powerful, super powerful.
And I'm reminded, this is a Sounds of Circles gathering. This is a Sounds of Circles roundtable, and this toning and chanting and connecting through sound. Sound and light are creation, right? So we're here in our light presence, in our light vehicles, in the consciousness of light, seeding the light through sound, right? Seeding the light through sound. Sound is the verb. It's the mechanism through which we're expressing our light, and our planet is soaking it up. You know, the universe is receiving our transmissions just as we receive these downloads that we talk about as well. We're receivers, and every living sentient being is a receiver. And when we're transmitting and receiving this God consciousness, this heart consciousness, this unity consciousness in the one breath, and we're toning that into the field of oneness. You know, we are participating in being those conscious creators of peace, harmony, and the interconnectedness of all things again. And so it's such a gift. It's such a gift to know this. It's such a gift to feel this. And it's such a gift to gather together with all of you in the expression of this. And so I'm grateful for all of you. Paul and Nancy. Yes, Suzette.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one more thing about sound. Is sound plus intention equals transformation. So use it on yourself if you with your intentions, with your prayers, and just start out with the Om or the Ah or any sound. Ask your inner being, what sound do I need today? And just spend a few moments and shifting that. So again, sound plus intention equals transformation. So.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Suzette. Paul and Nancy, I wanted to hear from your hearts today.
Okay, well, got a lot I can talk about as far as the hearts go. We've been together for 34 years. And I used to always say, I think we always used to say this, that 10% of our relationship was sex, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, and the rest of it was all other love channeled in different directions. But we realized that 10% was the most important 10% in the relationship. And so that's, I think, what today is about for us, is that, this is really the first holiday of the Roman calendar season, outside of the New Year. And it really does center around what we would say the root chakra, which was this foundational connection that we have in union with each other, which is amorous. It's reproductive. In fact, the original holiday was about fertility rites. It was about gratuitous and hedonistic, in the pagan world, this is what it was about. So, what I've been really meditating on for quite a while, I think both of us have to a certain degree, is there was a time in the world where there was a culture of love, a culture of love that was based on spiritual principles. And every time that culture of love starts to manifest itself, it unfortunately is suppressed. But we can think about this in the time where it wasn't. And that was a time in the medieval period where there was courtly love, there was troubadours, there were knights, there were maidens, there was heroism. All of these things connect to a culture of love. In fact, the people that practiced this called themselves the pure ones. They called themselves the Cathars or the Cathars. And they were people who practiced something called the Mene, which was a form of love which has different definitions, but they called it virginal love and they called it fiery love. They understood, and they also understood the mystery of the Grail itself. To them, the Grail was sacred. They understood that love is a life force, and they lived within that life force. And so the life force for them was love. And it's not just love in a narrow definition, it's the totality of love in its full spectrum, which manifests itself through all the chakras. So one could say that they understood this and that they lived through this love principle through unions with each other. And they played with this energy. It's a very creational energy. They play with it all. They play with it in many different ways, through poems and through lovemaking and all of these other things, and through chivalry. I always was fascinated by the mythologies of higher evolved worlds. And I always would ask myself or think about, what do they think of love, and how is that love channeled within their relationships and so forth. And it turns out, if you read about the Venusians or the Pleiadians, and that understood it in the same way, that love was a life force, and it was essential to them as breathing or as food, as shelter. It was a life force which needed to flow in its own direction. You couldn't put conditions on it. If you start putting conditions on that flow, then you start to diminish what it actually is. Love is a power. It's the power of the universe. And practicing occultists can use this energy in negative ways. As soon as you start putting condition in your ego upon that energy, then you become a practitioner of the dark arts. Literally, if you read anything that people like Crowley wrote, or any of these other people, they're utilizing that energy, but they're utilizing it for egotistical reasons. So you can't put conditions on this exchange. The exchange is unconditional. And I think it's the same thing that Jesus and Magdalene practiced. They were the archetypal couple in that sense. And in the mystical Christian, let's say, understanding of who they were, that's who they are. They are the archetypal couple. What they did was they channeled the Christ Sophia energies of the universe into this biosphere. And it was through that union that did it. And so as we move forward, and this is what we mean by sacred unions, the sacred unions fit that archetype. And this is this whole concept of what we call Christ Sophia, Christos Sophia, and that we can bring the energy in. Now, it turns out that we all know how to do this. I mean, we can do this in various different ways, but the easiest way to do this is simply to make love to each other. It's a meditative process. If it's ascended into a higher level, it becomes the easiest thing in the world to do. It becomes the most enjoyable thing in the world to do, but there's no conditions upon this. So when you bring this energy in, and it quite frankly is orgasmic energy that you're bringing into the world, what you're doing is you're healing the world through that power, because you put no conditions on it. And so you release it freely into the world. And through that energy, you build families through that energy. Through that energy, you build communities through that energy. Through that energy, you build nations through that energy. And that's, in these evolved worlds, what those sacred couples represented. They were the priests and the priestesses of this knowledge. And they were the ones who helped to stabilize those communities. And they were the ones who set the examples of those communities. I can go on, but I think I'm just going to stop right here.
And like Suzette said, it's the sound plus intention that brings the transformation. It sounds like it's the, it's the act and the art of lovemaking, but also the higher ascended intention and consciousness in it.
Yes, but remember that the consciousness that you engage it in is not the head. It's the heart. And it's even lower. It's the etheric, it's the body that takes over. It's almost like breathing. It's sacred, and it's like taking a breath. And when you take your ego mind out of it and put it in the background, everything else falls into place. You've been programmed to be able to do this, and you empower yourself in the world through this. And that's why there's been forces throughout history that have suppressed this, because this is our pathway to liberation. This is our pathway to enlightenment, and this is our pathway to freedom. And they've been suppressing it, and they've been hiding this forever.
Right. Powerful.
Right.
I have to unmute. Thank you, Paul, for one thing. Thank you. I just want to mention that we can extend that. Not only is lovemaking, which is lovemaking, but also you could take that same intention and that same amount of energy, and you could bring it to anything and make love.
Yes.
As you cook a meal, this is alchemy. You turn food into love. Yes. With a friend, you don't have to make love to the friend, but you could bring a love and make love. You are literally making love. And so, yes, that between couples, that is a service to God. You are bringing God together. But we can do this with everything. We could make love with everything. And that's what we do with nature and with Gaia. And we do this with all of our things, that we bring that intention of oneness, of unity, of being God's eyes and hands and hearts. That is love making. So I just wanted to add that I love the way you have, showed it, because that is how we have to see union. All union, is that it is love making. So just not sure whether that.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
No, that's it.
Well, creational energy is procreational. So in that sense, yes, in every relationship that we have with each other, we should strive not to define it, because there is an infinite potential within every relationship, whether it's a masculine or a feminine relationship. It's up to the individuals to find the correct channel for that energy. So we can play with this energy amongst all of ourselves, and it's up to the individuals to determine where it needs to be channeled, or where it needs to appropriately go. But when we start putting conditions or trying to define it, it becomes an issue. And in evolved worlds, they don't do that. Everything is procreational. Everything is coming from source. And we are playing with that energy, and we're determining the proper channels for that energy, the proper manifestations of that energy. And so, sure, we've been a couple for a long time, but it doesn't mean I can't love another man or another woman in just as intensive a way, but in a different way. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to bed together. We're going to have, it has to do with where the energy is channeled within your chakras, where it needs to find its channels. So again, it's a creational energy, and that's a procreational energy. That's a sexual energy. It just descends into different states of consciousness. You can put that love. We talk about it all the time. We put love in our food, and we can taste it. Well, we can sense it, which is when Nancy prepares a meal for me or I for her, we always joke about it, but we're only halfway joking. Because we say I said you really put love into this, or you put the love into this. We can sense that. That exists.
Thank you.
And I just want to add to that, and then I want to definitely hear from Del Sol and Flower and continue this heart sharing and this procreation, if you will. That's what this is. This is a creationary energy today that we're all seeding. I think there's that seed again. We are seeding. We are growing this. We're cultivating it and creating it. And when you talk about when people put conditions on love, the first thing that I felt when you said that is how also we've been conditioned to judge. It's one of the biggest ego's defense mechanisms is to, project out judgment. Yeah. And you were saying, I just want to say that the other dimensional realms have transcended judgment, which is allowing what is, right?
Yes. There was, and you might like this, Marie, because you're just into the mythologies of things and the stories, but there was a movie that we would show our children. It was a musical based on Tom Thumb, and Russ Tamblyn starred in this. It was very 50s, and Peter Sellers is in it, and Terry Thomas, and it's a musical. And the parents of Tom Thumb were these old Germanic people, older couple, and they were very loving. And they had the husband was a wood carver, right? Mm-hmm. And they had 2 lovebirds, and they were on their mantle, and they always faced each other, and that was a symbol that everything was in harmony. But if they had a fight, or if the things were going well, they were having a domestic spat, they turned the birds away from each other. And the rule was, before you went to sleep, you had to turn the birds back. They had to be facing each other. Now, I really took that as profound back when we were a young couple, and we really try to take that to heart. Meaning, you can't put conditions on things, and you have to see the other person's perspective. And maybe the few times that we did go to sleep, metaphorically, without the birds touching each other, it's painful. It's horrible. They can't last. So you just learn to, what was the right word? To accept. And honestly, you know what? I'm wrong 90% of the time anyway. So if I just concede, it's a lot easier for me to just say, I see your point, because usually Nancy's right.
Well, the feminine is connected to all that is, right?
Well,
and so if we would yield to the feminine, yes,
absolutely, and that's how it's channeled. She schooled me quite a bit, because at the beginning of my relationship, like, why are we doing that? And then I realized over time, yeah, you're mostly right, almost always right.
Well, and that's the energy of yes. Yes. That is the energy of yes to each other. And when their birds are facing each other, they're in the energy of yes, which is love, which is the openness and the co-creation, procreation. Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, it's such a beautiful sharing. And I thank the 2 of you showing up to be those vessels of this message to us all, because it's a very important message at this time, especially at this time on the planet. There's never been a better time to seek that union and to make more love in the world and inside ourselves and in our coupledoms, in our couplings and all of those things. But like Sharon was saying, and you guys were saying, it's in the food we make, but it's in the intention and the energy with which we're present with that is channeling that energy, and with our kids and our parenting and all the things that we do in our caring for our pets or connecting with nature. There's so many ways to be in that, in that life force of making love with the world. inside us and around us. So it's really powerful. It's really powerful. Thank you. Beautiful. Del Sol, would you like to grace us with just your beautiful words and your heart sharings today?
I want to off of what Paul and Nancy were saying. It's so true in understanding that we tend to put conditions on love instead of allowing it to flow. And just like I always flow with the water, water goes where it needs to go, whenever it wants to go. You really can't stop it. Once we take the ego out of the love, everything flows naturally and easily. So it's an intention, not to have an intention, but an allowance of say, hey, I accept and I honor all that you are so that you can enhance all that I am as I'm on my journey and we are journeying together on this journey, because it is our journey, not yours and not mine, but it is in turn our journey, allowing everything to flow naturally, removing the ego out of everything. Because all our lives we've been taught to put love into something other than ourselves. So now we're understanding that now we're loving ourselves and allowing us to flow, and now we flow together as one. Always the water. It's always the water. When I just left, it was the water. Everything is the water. And I keep hearing, you can't stop the water from flowing. You have to return to the water. The water goes and then the water flows. So it's always the water. The water is the essence of who and what we truly are. So the water.
Well, and water
It
is
is the water.
life. Water is life, and it's the life
Yes.
force we're talking
Yes.
about. Yes, it is. It is.
It is the life force, and it holds the frequency of love, of unconditional love. That if we have total allowance, the frequency vibrates through our entire being, because we are made up of water and we are returning. We are waking that ancient part of us that knows and understands how the water flows. If that makes sense, I think.
Makes total sense. And I think a lot of this time we're also, it keeps coming up in sessions with clients and in my own life, is this energy of movement, and water naturally is flowing. It's its nature to be in a state of flow and be in a state of movement. And if we would allow what's coming up for us, even like what you said, Paul, with the lovebirds, if we would allow that energy to flow through, even if it's discord, if we could just allow it to flow through, because it needs expression in some way. And then, but bringing it back with a consciousness of union and knowing that that's where the life force is, right? And if we just look, I'm sure this could be a whole other podcast, but if we look at the level of dis-ease in our world, it's also brings that back into, we're blocking a lot of flow. We suppress so much. And when we're not allowing that energy and that life force to move through us, our bodies finally communicate with us by showing us symptoms of that. And that's so powerful.
Yes, indeed. And here lately, I've been receiving a lot of messages. I call them scribes. I shared one with you guys a few weeks ago, I think last week. But the energy that I've been receiving and connecting with, it's all water, and the water elemental and the air elemental, where everything is just flowing easily and naturally. So I'm going to begin to share more of it as I embrace that another aspect of myself, reconnecting. It literally is like ancient symbols all coming together, directional, where it's flowing. So it's, when you look at the drawing, is so much going on, but then when you dumb it down and you really intertwine everything, you see the flow of everything going naturally. So it is the natural flow and returning to the flow of who we are.
Right. Well, and when we're in that flow, it's like that's where the symphony is, right? And you can have, I guess, discordant music if we brought it back to a level of sound again. But when we're in that place of unconditional acceptance that Sharon's talking about, and we allow that flow, we have the symphony of our lives, right? And many of us have memory of that, and also we're participants and conduits in allowing that knowing, that gnosis inside to flow forward, trusting the expressions, loving what is, and and connecting with that. When you were talking, that I felt water-led living. We talk about light-led living and divinity code-led living, and we can even add water-led living, right? We can add love-making-led living. All of this it's all synergizing, and it's part of the greater symphony that we're talking about. It's all this, harmonic wealth. It's this harmonic abundance that is God's world. It's God's divine design. And I love how each one of us expresses that so beautifully. We have these unique notes in a greater song that is playing and flowing forward. So that was beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Flower, would you like to share in our Valentine's Day celebration today?
Hi, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day. I have a different perspective. What I keep seeing is Cupid as the warrior without armor. And so, I see love as a no. I know Vanita and I have the yes-no thing going on. But love as no, love as boundaries, love as correct information, love as directional, love as the ringing in your ears telling you exactly what you need to do for your own soul's journey. It's about stretching your bow and acting upon love with pinpoint precision. I wrote some notes to be the bow and the arrow and to hit your target. This is not a game that we're playing right now. Love is serious. And you have to be where you're supposed to be and not get caught up in choppy waters. Aim towards the serenity, the clear waters. That was really clear about Cupid as the warrior without armor, and action through meditation.
Yeah.
That bow, right?
Sure. And the precision of that, I love that, as the Cupid is the warrior without armor, right? And we talked about, Paul brought up even the medieval times where they knew this expression. And I know my partner taught in the prison system through a book called The Knight and His Rusty Armor. And it was all about melting the armor, maybe to become all these Cupids in prison, maybe, and free themselves, right? Because that's what they did. They dropped their armor, which was all of their ego judgments and conditionings and, all the illusions, and they freed themselves. They freed their spirit. And many of those were in contact with many of those beautiful beings who have since released from prison, literally, and are out creating positive change in the world. And this is that melting of the armor, no armor. But it's interesting how language is interesting because for each person here and anybody listening to this roundtable, for Flower, love is a no, right? That's just how her unique matrix, and any one of us could resonate with what you're sharing. And we all have a unique expression of love being expressed, of that life force in action. And that's your language. It was in a recent transmission. I love this. I need to type this up as a quote, but language can liberate and language can also incarcerate, was in a transmission a couple of times ago. And I'm really feeling that more. And so we all need to be free. It's like that accepting what is, how it's flowing through us, our concepts, the mythologies that we do resonate with, whether it's a musical, whether it's a parable or a fable, whatever it might be. We all have to find the keys that are going to unlock this life force inside us. For Del Sol, it's the water, right? And many of us, because we're in a symphony, if we aren't judging, if we're not putting conditions on what love is, and it has to be one way and not this other way, if we don't put conditions on it, love has been expressed in each one of us today in these beautiful, amazing ways. And so we don't want to incarcerate ourselves with any language. These are frequencies. And I can feel the frequency of how we feel liberated in the love and the life force through love that we are. And yet we could even language it different ways that could seem, that could seem the opposite or in contrast, but it's actually the life force is the same. The life force is flowing and it is creating. And I marvel at, I don't know, I think it's going to be even more fun when we fully are activated in our telepathy again, because when we can live beyond words, we're sharing a feeling, and in some ways that's what the guides do sometimes. And I'm sure you all have experienced this. My animals definitely communicate through feelings or pictures. Sometimes I hear words, but a lot of times I feel their energy it presses in, and it doesn't need words. So that's another thing for anyone listening and all of us to remember as we just to be paying attention. Is the frequency in our language liberating us, or is the frequency in our language contributing to the conditions that stop the flow of that love and that life force and that creationary energy? Yeah, Sharon.
No,
Go ahead, Paul. You go ahead, and then we'll go to Sharon. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say that, in Sanskrit, there's over 100 different variations of the word love. In the Persian language, there's 70. And in Greek, there's 5. And in English, there's 1 word. And so nobody knows what you're saying when you say love. And I would agree that, when you bring unconditional love into a conditioned environment, you have to be a warrior in order to manifest it. And you suffer greatly in that realm. All the great saints and all the great heroes suffer in love because they're trying to create that unconditional spirit within a world of conditions. And we've all suffered many, many, many times from it. And so, yes, I love this analogy of Eros, the naked warrior, the one that's taken off the ego, that's taken off the conditions.
Vulnerable.
Yes, but you think you make yourself vulnerable because you've taken off your armor, but you know what? You have to. That our armor is egotistical conditions, and you have to be a warrior without those conditions. I completely agree.
Beautiful.
Oh, and the other thing, the water, that's so important. The water is a carrier of intention. We have just crossed that threshold a little further into the age of Aquarius. That's the water bearer. That's that water's filling us up. That's just coming into this parched earth. You can't help but see the water. The water's, it's spiritual water. It's all over. It's coming here.
It is coming. It's a holy water that's flowing in us.
Yes.
It's flowing in us. And I think, this is such a beautiful conversation for me and for all of us, but for our listeners too, of like giving ourselves permission to receive that holy water, to be that holy water, and to be that naked warrior that you just described with, and Flower too. So we're learning how to live at a new level. We really are learning how to channel frequency at a whole new level, and channel water, channel the energy of intention, channel these higher ascensional dimensional frequencies. And it is new, and we are bringing this energy into a world of conditions, as you said. You said that so brilliantly. And I think that's why sometimes some light warriors, some light workers sometimes feel like they hit walls, or their message isn't getting out there, or it's not being received. And yet I think many of us, as these spiritual warriors that we are, we know our role and our purpose, which is frequency, is to be the light and the vehicle and the vessel of whatever our messages is, whatever that sacred note, that song that we bring. It's not that we have to get the doves to turn per se. We're not focused on ensuring that everybody turns their doves at night. I think the focus is on being aligned with our frequency and aligned with source, because when we align with God and the source and the heart and the unity consciousness within, the doves turn themselves, right? And I think we're learning this, but it is a letting go process, because for a long time our worrying, if that's a verb, our worrying on has been, in a way, it can be pushing against and fighting to be heard. And there's a lot of people with a lot of messages. I have it sometimes in my own family, and people just not hearing. They can't hear the frequency where I'm speaking and singing my song. And over time, I've just learned to be, and Paul, we were talking about this in our podcast that is also coming out very soon, but the north wind and the sun, that Aesop's fable, and I can put a link to that. But there's a wind and the sun. What is that? Do you see what Del Sol is showing us? What is that?
What?
Oh, Toth.
He's all in the sun.
Yes.
All in the sun.
That's us. I mean, that is us. And in this competition they have between the wind and the sun, the wind is trying to say, we need to, hash this out once and for all. Who's the more powerful? And the wind keeps trying to blow and blow and blow this person that has a coat on to get him to take off his coat. But the sun just beams what it is. It's effortless. And the wind is almost out of breath, blowing so hard. That's the ego. It's just blowing so hard. And the sun just keeps beaming. I think we're in this time. There are times where we have to listen, like Flower said, to the no, to the direction, to that, the way we channel that warrior energy, the naked warrior. And I also feel like there's this inner sun rising inside, and this love-making energy that you're talking about, Paul, that we're all talking about in the water. But it also is allowing us to be more of what we are. Right? We're in a time of allowing ourselves to just be more of what we are, channel more of what we are, and enjoy that ourselves. And there's a magnetism that's in the universe whose job it is, if people are meant to be attracted to that frequency, they will be. Renee, can I go to Sharon really quick first? Sure. I just don't want her to lose her yet, and then we'll come back to you.
I just wanted to add, although if I wait, you all end up saying what I was going to say anyways, in different ways. But I have received messages of seeing love as basically divine liquid essence. And it just fills in the matter around us. So it fills in, and we're held in it. It's God's essence. And this is the energy of God that we live on, that is what love is. And it's accessible to us. We just need to drink it in. So it is fluid. It's like a liquid gold love essence that just fills us all in. We just have to be open and accept it and allow it. And I love that we all have different beautiful interpretations of love, because that is expanding the whole. That is what love is. It's everything, right? So it's like, it's so beautiful, because you have expanded me by listening to you. I feel expanded. My love is expanded. My heart has expanded. And I wasn't as expanded until I got on this call. So that is what it is. That's what we're doing, right? That's what love does. It just keeps expanding us and allowing us to be, And so I just wanted to share that, because the messages have been coming through about love being divine liquid essence. And so you were talking about water and the sun, and it's all, that's exactly it. So it's just beautiful. Thank you.
So beautiful. It's like a love lava. in a
It
way.
is, exactly. That's exactly what, and I'm feeling it, I'm feeling it. And it's amazing with, anyways.
Beautiful. I'm feeling it too. And all how you language that expansion. I think we're all expanding in this call, and we're all expanding in these times. And if we would just breathe that liquid love and allow the expansion, it's all right there, right? It's when we try and contract and somehow convince ourselves that we're not ready, or we don't have the skills, or we're too afraid, and fear and all these other messages of the conditioning take over. Well, I have a leaking water heater right now. And so it's interesting, and it's 23 years old, and it's interesting, these energies of water. And the contractor was here, but he's not going to be here till next week to replace it. So what we have is nothing is stopping the flow. So it's just pouring out into my garage, and we'll be draining. And I think that's a message, is just, it's had its journey. It held a lot of those energies and those vibrations of all the years that we've journeyed at this house. And there is this release process. And if it would just let it flow, and that's the way this 23-year-old water heater needs to flow right now. And we're just loving it, and actually spending time appreciating all the life it has given to our family. That's the other thing I feel, so much gratitude for all the life that it has flowed into our body temples, into our family's life. And I think that is a metaphor, is just letting it flow. And in the flow, there's expansion, right? And in the blockages and the resistance, there's contraction. And this is a time on the planet of true expansion, like of epic proportions, epic expansions right now. So, Renee, please, I want you to share.
Yeah, I have a question for Flower, but I first want to say that I had an experience going through a lot of challenges with my parents. I had found my real dad, and it didn't sit well with my mom and stepdad, and there was just a lot of stuff I was going through. And I was in my bedroom crying because I didn't know what to do. My little 9-year-old daughter walked in, and she said, Mom, you're crying. And I said, yeah. And she goes, it's your mom, right? My daughter. Yes. She climbed in my lap and put her arms around me. So she was facing me this way. And I just put my head on her shoulder. And I said, I just don't know what to do. And she goes, I know. And Spirit told me, listen to this child. And her answer was, it's whether you're going to keep loving your mom or not.
Whoa.
And that took like 12 years of pain and confusion, and me trying to communicate love, because like, you can love, but you can't receive it. That was a big lesson. You can't receive it for the person. But that doesn't mean you stop or slow down. You keep giving that love, because the heart was made to love. It's first nature. It's first nature, and it is my first nature. So man, I let go of all that, and I was just gonna keep loving my mom, let go of all the rest of the stuff. And so that was a huge thing for me, that you love because that's who you are, and your heart was made for that. And I've been looking at Flower and also Del Sol. You guys, every now and then you look like you're a hologram, but your flower will come and go on your ear. See?
Oh, it did. Yeah.
You look like you're in black and white. You look like a hologram. But I wanted to ask you, when you said love is no, is it K-N-O-W? Is it N-O? Can you expound on that? Because I got lost.
It's N-O. No. It is no. And my observation of the spiritual community, a lot of us have become doormats. And that is not what Source wants us to do. So the arrow came up in this, I was just watching what's going on, which is always this group is extremely powerful, and I'm blessed and grateful to be here with everyone here. This is a powered morning smoothie for Renee and I, because it's so early for us. But no is love. when you're hearing that ringing in the ears and you're doing the same behavior and you're trying to let in love, that hippie construct, that one definition, that one note of love, I'm going to forgive, and you're not seeing the external change. That's time, and the ears are ringing, and you feel like crap. You know, there's a no. God's saying no.
Yeah.
You have to. You're not here. You did your part. We're not. Our expectations are killing us. We're not here to change the external. We're here to understand our internal selves, and so we have to make some no's and change direction, because this is it, you know. That's why action through meditation, not through belief systems, you know, not through book learning. Just sitting down and spending the time meditating, and then taking action from meditation. That is the only way that our particular soul is going to go where it needs to go. That's what I've learned. And the writing, those of us that are writers, you know, we have our pen. I don't know if you can see it. I mean, this is our arrow, right? And writing is meditation. So yeah, no is love. And it could take a while to, it's sobering to get away from the belief systems of what we think is love. Because we have been played from so many different levels. And the only one who knows what true love is our soul. And the soul tell us to go left or right, eat this, don't eat that. Say no to someone, even if you're afraid to, because the soul has access to everything you're going to need to help you get through that, you know. Yeah, the belief system of love is a tricky one. And it can be dangerous if we still are playing those old. I mean, the 60s were largely patriarchal. Sure, the feminine was coming up, but have you ever sat at a dinner table with like the main patriarchal guy at the end? In San Francisco, there's tons of them. They have these long, like, they're covered in what do you call tie-dye shirts, and they've had like they've lived on Haight Street for 30 years. I think they know everything. That's that idea of like free love and that kind of thing is so imprinted, that no boundary thing, but also got people in a lot of trouble too. So really it's your soul and whatever action you take through your own, you know, write your own book, I guess. No expectations with love. It might even look ugly. It's not pretty. No one said it. We've been told it's pretty. You know, the idea of romance, all that kind of stuff. But to really bring the soul into the body, I think is love. Because we can have these like fairy tales and ideas, and it makes us unbalanced. But we got to bring our soul down to the big toe. And it's painful, you know, all those emotions and all that stuff. But we are the target, you know. We have to we are the bullseye, and bring that, all of that of who we are into our bodies, fill ourselves up with who we are, and that's saying no to what we're not. You just say no to what you are not, because this is your soul's journey. And yeah, boundaries are good, and they change just like water too. Today I have this boundary with this person, it might change tomorrow. So we're in flow. It's a moving. We don't want to get stuck in anything, but definitely from what the poems are telling me is we can be a Cupid, you know. Cupid is a warrior without armor, but we still can protect ourselves. You know, we still can say no. You know, you yell at your children for a reason. So, you know, we look both ways across the street. I mean, there are some fundamental, you don't turn your back to the ocean. And we are, if you really can look at all the choices of why we're here today, there's really, there's very little we can actually do. I mean, we're doing a lot, but it is so dense, the thought forms and the energy right now. Just go where flow where you're supposed to go, you know. I think that's what, don't go against the water. So, but we can get stuck for a long time, and also be too open to whatever, all the debris out there. So I'm much better as a poet than a talker.
No,
You're doing a great job.
yeah. Flower, I was just, as I'm listening to you, you're describing self-love. Like, to me, you are just describing so
Yes.
beautifully self-love. And that's where we start, right? You are describing the first point, the no, which is self-love, and to understand what we need. And so you brought here exactly what needed to be brought here to round us all out, which is
Yes.
self-love. That's where everything starts. And you described it just beautifully.
Thank
Really, you really did. And we do have to honor how we feel and who we are first and foremost before anything else. And so thank you, because really it was beautifully expressed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, it was, Flower. Thank you. I have a
All
better picture
choices.
now. Thank you.
Yes.
All choices are always honored and must be honored by the soul, because we honor each other. In doing so, we honor ourselves.
Mm. Mm. You know, there are, to bring this around, there are sacred yeses and sacred nos. There are these choice points where we do not give consent, you know, and for many of us, we didn't know we were unconsciously giving our consent to a matrix that never told us that we even had made consent. So we're waking up to that fact and realizing this is where the boundaries come in, those boundaries to reestablish our sovereignty and to become whole inside ourselves. And there's multi-layers. I mean, we're multi-dimensional beings, but we're multi-layered beings. And a layer, certainly, and in our repertoire of skills in our toolbox, is the ability to not consent, is the ability to say a no. And when we have these clear chakras, you know, and we could talk about this, especially with Vanita another time, because I know you bring such a rich language and help us understand this. But when our chakra pillar is clear and our breathing tube is clear, we're channeling that liquid love lava, you know, inside ourselves. But it's in the boundary setting and the clearing and letting the things flow through, like Solar is talking about, that it's a dance. I mean, there's like a choreography going on where we're learning how to be these figure eights, where we're learning how to be not the figure eight, but the infinity symbol. We're learning how to be infinity symbols, but we've been the trapped figure eight, maybe. You know, we're learning how to do this. And the language is so important. So there is a language of no. There is a language in the hero's journey of the I do not consent. And then there's also the language of, as you learn through the I do not consent and what you do consciously choose to give your permission to and to allow and accept and embrace inside you, we're wanting, you said self-love, Sharon, and it's sacred union with ourselves. And I've heard a number of channels years ago talking about the sacred union, and maybe this will be a part 2 podcast because we should do this, talking about this and extend it further. But I've understood it and I can feel the vibrational truth of this, is that sacred partnership as we're moving forward are these two avatar beings, these beings who are whole unto themselves in sacred partnership, cultivating this higher, greater awareness and this continued expansion and channeling that life force inside us. But in the illusion, we felt somebody else fixes me, somebody else completes me, or I give my power away to something else. And we're learning that our life force is so, so important. And so I just feel like the masculine and the feminine continues to teach us, and we are coming together in one. And that first oneness is with ourselves, in that sacred union with ourselves through self-love and learning the language of no, and learning the language of conscious yes, and learning the language of that with ourselves, and then learning it with other people. And we try this on, we wear this, we have these conversations with people in our inner circles and our families, and then we extends out into the world. And I think the more we become whole unto ourselves, then it becomes easier to be this unconditional acceptance, this unconditional loving being, because we've cleared the chakras, we've reclaimed the sacred no and the sacred yes. There are tools in the journey that are required, and there is a chasm from being asleep and being more awake in who we truly are. And we're all in the hero's journey somewhere in that. And I love how each one of us languages aspects of that journey. And it's a potent time. I mean, I don't think anybody here on this call or anyone listening to us would say that it doesn't have a potency right now. And I think that potency is also this life force that wants to come alive in all of us. And however we can connect with the sharings today, and in the invitations from our own higher selves going forward, and God and Gaia, we are learning how to expand in this new way, and also probably be developing a new language along the way. The language is the bridge. When we can understand where we've been and how we danced in medieval times, or in these other parables, or the Essene times, all these other timelines, we're giving ourselves the language to reflect on that, but we're also giving ourselves a language to expand in these new ways. And so I even like the love lava. I like that energy of that liquid golden light. So I just cherish all of you, and I cherish all of our perspectives and the sounds and the song and the symphony that we create when we all come together. And each time we come together, it might be, some of us here and some of us not on the call, and it's a different mixture of energies. And it's a new song of the same song, right? It's the eternal song, but it's playing through our instruments differently each time we gather here together. And that is the song that ultimately, whatever language you use, that God is, summoning us home with the music and through the instruments that we are. And I want to thank all of you for being here with me today and sharing from your hearts, and Suzette for leading us in that beautiful meditation and helping us to participate at noon, at least on the East Coast, our time. Well, I want to thank all of our listeners and people participating in these conversations with us, because we are doing this together. This is a co-creation of epic proportions. I have to use the word epic. It just makes me so happy. It's the energy of expansion. And these are epic times, and these are epic connections, I would really say. And we're all part of breathing together this expansive God breath. So thank you. Thank you to our listeners. Find us at wholesoulmastery.com. Find us on YouTube at Whole Soul Mastery, and find us on other platforms. Always look for us if you're on a different platform and search Whole Soul Mastery, and you may see these powerful and beautiful podcasts where you frequent in your social media platforms. And until next time, we all send you blessings and happy Valentine's Day, and lots of love from the universal heart, from our hearts to yours. Blessings, everyone.